I love things that give our characters texture.
Yes.
And it's not necessarily a setup to any particular kind of payoff. It's really good character building dialogue that gives the two of them a rapport back and forth with each other and informs us about the character.
As silly as it sounds, I think this is the film that for me was so impactful enough that it made me fall in love with cinematography and understanding cinematography.
Sweet. Hey, Gretchen.
Hey, Barton.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
We are here with another episode of the Check the Gate podcast where Gretchen and I get together and we watch a movie and then we talk about it, but we never actually know where the conversation may go. But I have a pretty good idea where this conversation is going to go today because I'm super excited about this. And Gretchen, why don't you tell everyone about what we're talking about?
Well, I mean, okay. There are times I look back at our episodes and see the times where I say, I love this movie. This is my favorite movie or one of my favorite movies, whatever the case may be. We are actually talking about my favorite movie, hands down. Anytime I'm asked to do a list, anytime I'm tagged to talk about my favorite horror movie of all times, and I would just also say my favorite movie because this is a comfort film for me, weirdly enough. It's just such a beautiful film, and I won't hold you in suspense anymore. It is Exorcist III.
Nice. And there's two versions of this, right?
Yes. So the Legion cut as well as the theatrical cut, which is the Exorcist III.
Yeah, and we watched both. We watched the theatrical cut first.
Right.
And then we watched the Legion cut.
Right.
We'll try to talk about both. We'll talk about whichever one as much as you want to, equally or more than the other. I'm kind of excited to talk about the Legion cut.
Yeah, I mean, it is the most faithful to what Blatty was looking for and in a film. The way he had written the script for he had written the script for this and it wasn't accepted. And they did the Exorcist too. It was kind of a silly so he kind of put it on the back burner and then decided to put a book out. So he did the Legion book, and then that became exactly what we're looking at not exactly, but close to what we're looking at in the Legion edition of the film.
Do you want to talk a little bit about not getting into Exorcist 1 or 2, but do you want to kind of set the stage for Exorcist 3? We had Exorcist 1, Exorcist 2, kind of what got us to 3 and maybe even ninth configuration in there.
Yeah, what kind of gets us there is Blatty has this trilogy of faith storyline where he's challenging religion and challenging where we put the thought of evil and death and the way that the church perceives evil. And so that's what these books kind of explore, as well as these films. The first movie being the 1973 box office smash, Exorcist III.
Yeah, the William Friedkin
Or Exorcist.
film.
I'm sorry. Did I say Exorcist III? My God.
My
bad. I'm already jumping the gun.
Yeah.
I'm let's talk about my favorite movie. No, Exorcist. Yeah. That film was so impactful. My mom was telling me the story of standing in. She was at nursing school, and she had gotten into line for all of her friends and had to wait in line for hours to get tickets for this, and ended up buying 6 tickets for all of their buddies to go together, and they were all nurses that she was in class with.
Wow.
Yeah.
A lot of times people try to say that 1975's Jaws, which just had its 50th anniversary, is kind of the film that started the summer blockbuster thing. I don't know what season they released The Exorcist in, but stories of that makes me think, wow, that was kind of a blockbustery kind of a film.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't quite the sensation that Jaws was, and in the sense that it didn't make it. I think more than anything, it scared an audience. It was known for the terrible, like the terrifying possession scenes, and Linda Blair's head turning backwards, and
Yeah.
But as far as like setting the storyline for our films, this film. So the first film finds us in this scenario where we have the father Karras, Damien Karras is a psychiatrist priest that works for the Roman Catholic Church that's trying to he was there called in for this possession of Regan, and ends up having his faith tested, and is at the very end tells the devil to come into him, and then he ends up getting knocked out of a window and falling down a long flight of stairs and dying at the end. The police officer that was on site at the exorcism was Kinderman, who is later in the third movie played by George C. Scott. So we're left at that when the first one happens. So that's Exorcist 1. Exorcist 2 is supposed to happen 4 years later, and it's this wild ride of a movie of who would have thought that we would have seen the Paris, the bug stuff, and it got weird. I don't know if you've seen Exorcist 2.
I have never seen Exorcist 2. I've seen
Heretic
excerpts.
is bizarre. It has James Earl Jones riding on a giant bug. Yeah. It's really strange.
Yeah.
And so I always just kind of gloss over. I'm on its own, it's a fun watch, but it's not. I would not pull it into the canon of the stories. And then inadvertently, I don't know. I mean, I know that he considers it an intentional slip in, but having the ninth, Blatty does the ninth configuration, and I forgot to mention that the first film was shot by Friedkin. This one's shot by Blatty. Blatty does the ninth configuration, and that's kind of a peril of conversation about faith and sanity. And I think that's there is a few characters that have a crossover into Exorcist 3, but it's very minor. It's more has to do with the state hospital aspects and those kinds of questioning self and, the sense of self and death's power over us. And yeah. So we jump into Exorcist 3, which picks up 15 years from the first movie.
Right.
Or supposed to be 15 years. Because that was 1973, but I guess they're calling it this all happened in 1975 in Georgetown.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
Roughly 15 years. Yeah.
I was all right, 15, 18 years, give or take, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's where our story Exorcist 3 starts. As we are, Kinderman is a older, more curmudgeoned police officer, and he is he's being drawn back into a case that he thought was long gone. And at its core, this book, the Legion book, is very much a police thriller. I mean, there's definitely the supernatural aspects of it, but for the most part, the story is a really interesting police thriller. And following the story behind Detective Kinderman or Lieutenant Kinderman, right? Yeah.
Well, they continue to call him lieutenant in there, and he makes a note of that. It's you keep calling me lieutenant, and it's anyone who's possessed seems to be doing that, or someone when they're in there. But he's a detective.
Yeah, but maybe he's a lieutenant.
And I don't know rankings very well.
I don't
so
either.
Like an
I'm
inside
ignorant
comment
of that
like that.
stuff.
Right. So it very well could be that he's
I just noticed gun handling and things like that. I don't always notice their ranks. I don't know what that stuff means.
He's a non-uniformed police officer, and he is a detective.
Correct.
Within the police there. So at least at that we know he is a detective.
Yeah, I have to say one of the opening scene for the theatrical version for me is probably the most striking. There's this, a church, and you hear the words preacher, and the eyes of Jesus open up, and then we zoom in on a what is it called? A priest collar with a rose and then blood dripping down it. And then this like crescendo of like voices screaming and slash singing and the wind blowing and knocking all the leaves down. And then we have I had a dream of falling down a long flight of stairs and roses.
Yeah.
And it's like chilling.
Yeah.
Chilling. I have to say, and then rewatching and then watching the Legion cut, that doesn't happen. It's a little bit different. It's the beginning is the end of the first film where we see him falling down the stairs and it's in black and white. And then we have Tubular Bells kick in and wow, just I'm going to be constantly jumping back and forth, but there is so much like this film is so smart and both of them, honestly, were so smart as far as what they were like trying to portray in this story, and the imagery that's being used is also very fun.
Yeah. Well, so when we we watched both,
right?
And with the director's cut, that's one where which is Legion. That's the one where they tried to piece things back together again with what had been the original intent of Blatty, but they couldn't get all of the footage. So like there's some stuff that's pulled from some VHS releases because they didn't have the original footage. They tried to clean it up, but that was back in the day when things were box. They were 4:3 ratio, so they lost the cinematic look of it and weren't able to retain that because the footage didn't exist anymore. The audio is not cleaned up and different. Some places they had like a clean track of ADR that they had recorded, but then they didn't have the clean footage. So you watch this, it's very noticeable.
Absolutely.
When you're going in and out of those, but it's I actually kind of really liked the Legion version, and we can get into it more when we do it. But it's interesting to just see how there was this attempt to recreate this vision that Blatty had, which you had commented on, which is more procedural cop thriller than it is supernatural horror.
Correct.
Which the studio really wanted to try to capture that original feeling of The Exorcist and bring the audience back.
One of the things that was kind of a big bummer for Brad Dourif is that originally this was all shot with him, right? Like he was like, from the beginning, the first time this film went out, it was all going to be him. They had replaced him in the pictures to convince us as the audience that we're looking at Damien Karras, even though we all know this is not Jason Miller, but whatever, that was not important. His performance was the expectation was that he was Damien Karras's form, and what the story unfolds that he's possessed by the Gemini killer. The Brad Dourif, like they basically told him they were cutting him out of the film.
Yeah. To a certain degree.
Well, no, I mean, originally, he was supposed to just, they did all this, they shot it. It was all of his parts. He practiced his monologues he did 20-minute takes of those monologues that he did in the film. And he was told, Blatty called him, is like, hey, I think what you do is really, really great. Unfortunately, we're going to have to go with Jason Miller because that's what the studio wants, and the audience didn't test well for you. And so he was just like, I'm done with this film, and has moved on. Right. And then Jason isn't able to perform because he has terrible, terrible wet brain from being an alcoholic. So what they ended up doing was that cut that we see for the theatrical version, which quite honestly is earnest in and of itself, because I have to say, as a fan of the franchise, Jason Miller is pretty much the fixture. I would have taken, I would have to have seen if maybe we had seen a completed, edited, gorgeously reshot Legion cut, I might have been able to be convinced that Brad Dourif was supposed to be. I mean, even when you and I were watching it, you were like, "Wait, what?" And I was like, "He's supposed to be Damien Karras."
Yeah.
And you were like, "Oh," and so because that's the thing is I don't know if I could have been convinced as a audience member. Like, that's probably why I didn't test well, is by using Jason Miller. He's a fixture. He's an iconic image of the first film. So we want to see an aged version of Damian Karras.
Yeah.
15 years later.
Yeah, and there's
give or take,
and it's a lot of intersecting pieces here between what's happening in the story and then what's happening in real life with characters and what's happened. So because we have the original Exorcist film in which we had Father Damian Karras is killed after the fall all the way down those iconic stairs at Georgetown. That's how our film kind of wraps up. He has made himself a sacrifice,
right?
Which is one of the great parts of it's one of the most notable dogma pieces within Christian and Roman Catholic religion. That's the whole thing of what Jesus is supposed to be, is the sacrifice. Here's Damien having this sacrifice. So when we've come to Exorcist III, the intersections are, we have Damian Karras is dead. Father Damian Karras is dead. They've all supposedly buried him. They've seen him. Yep. And then the new issue that they're having, which you had brought up, was that there had been a killer many years prior known as the Gemini killer, and had a very distinct set of markers when they killed someone. They always took the finger off of a particular hand. They always did an engraving of the Gemini symbol within the hand. People were usually very surgically killed, or post-mortem they had some things happen to them, but they all thought that person was executed around the same time that Damian Karras was killed in The Exorcist.
Correct.
So what we end up kind of finding is now this Gemini killer is back, replicating the same kind of murder style.
A copycat killer.
Or there's a copycat killer, because now we've also, there's as it starts to happen, there are different fingerprints and different things. So we're kind of left with what's going on? But then the intersection with that becomes where we meet Brad Duriff, who is the new Damian Karras, which was hard for me to understand in both the first one and the second one, but it did make sense, and I say first and second one, when we have the director's cut and then we have Legion.
It's way more clear to the audience and the theatrical cut with Jason Miller playing Damian Karras.
Sure.
Because it is like night and day, right?
Yeah.
Like when he does Brad Dourif does these screaming monologues of like, I am the Gemini killer. I go on. I persist. I live. I breathe.
Yeah.
Those, I feel like almost like, because the audience is we're not super wise oftentimes when we're watching a film. And so having this handed to us tested well.
Yeah. And it was essentially a recast that didn't work. Like, they tried to do something, and along the line in their process, they didn't do something that that either the audience or the studio accepted as a recasting of this character. So that's what brings about Jason Miller coming back in. That's what brings Jason Miller back in. And so that then, so it kind of sets the stage for in the studio realm of a lot of decisions having to be made of like, how do we course correct, or how do we do any of this stuff? So that's kind of where we end up with these two cuts in there.
I mean, the unfortunate part is this is a prime example of what happens when studios and production companies get to be like, make decisions about films. Supposedly there is I have not seen it personally, but there is a fan edit of this where they have removed some of the ridiculous possession parts or exorcism parts, and just kept the Jason Miller and Brad Dourif like cuts.
Okay.
So the story still flows somewhat similarly, but also like it's removed that kind of the Hollywoodization of the film that happens.
Yeah, that was very notable.
Yes.
When we watch it, when we saw the Legion cut, there is an entire character and an entire major scene
and
that does
really
not exist in
important plot
Legion.
Point that gets brought up at the end that I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Because I mean, I remember reading it in the book and also watching it in the Legion cut, but I kept looking for it in a theatrical version, forgetting that it wasn't present in the theatrical version. Anyways, we'll get to that part. It's kind of towards the end of the story, but yeah. So I love both, you know, so I can't really pick one or the other. There's aspects about both things, because when I first saw this film in 1990, I guess I was like the right age. I saw this on the big screen and I was like blown away by the intensity of the story, as well as the intensity of Brad Dourif, like staring into the camera, like eyes unblinking and like tears rolling down his eyes as he's like screaming and ranting. And then he would draw back and very charismatically go, oh, was I ranting or raving? Yeah, it was just, there are so many there are so many monologues in this story that are just incredible and are worth sampling. I think there's like a band called, or there's a sample for the band Skinny Puppy uses in this. Like, oh yeah.
Nice.
Oh man alive.
Can we talk about Brad Dourif?
Yeah, please.
Because I love Brad Dourif, and I had seen this film before we decided to do it for the show, but I didn't know all of the intricacies and the stories of it, and I hadn't watched 2 because most people have said don't watch Heretic, doesn't matter, and I watched this for the first time because of a very famous scene, which we can get to, which is a great scene. It's so amazing, but I loved seeing Brad Dourif in this because I love Brad Dourif. He is one of the best parts of the Lord of the Rings trilogy done by Peter Jackson. His performance as Wormtongue is magical and amazing. And that guy has been, of course, he was Chucky in the Child's Play films for a very long time. I remember him as kind of the setup person working at either a convenience store or a gas station. I think he's working at a gas station in Urban Legend.
Yeah.
And he's great because he's like this perfect setup, because he's kind of had a track record of like being a bad guy or being a creepy guy, and he's playing this really weird, creepy bad guy at a gas station that's giving really bad vibes to this person. And it turns out they're trying to warn somebody that they saw a person crawl into the backseat of their car that looks like they might try to warn him, but he has a speech impediment. He has these issues. He's not able to get it across. It freaks the person out. They get into the car and drive away. And as they're driving away, he finally musters the courage to be able to yell, "They're in the back seat," and the person's already too late, can't hear, and driving away, and then they get killed, and that's the setup for Urban Legend. And it's he's so good. He's so good in everything. I've never seen the Western TV series that HBO had for a long time.
In it.
I know. Everyone has said he's fantastic in it. There's a whole bunch of great people in there. I don't have HBO, so I haven't been able to see it. It's one of those where,
Deadwood.
I think I need to like lose my Netflix so that I can get HBO so I can watch The Last of Us and go back and watch Deadwood.
Yeah.
Which I think The Wire is on there as well. Great stuff. But I've really wanted to watch Deadwood because the idea of watching Brad Dourif in a Western is just amazing. So
he's a very nice guy.
I want to meet him so badly. If I ever find
he's a very nice guy character.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, I've never met him.
I would imagine that in real life, he's a very nice guy. Most people that end up playing characters like he does are usually just the sweetest, nicest folks.
Yeah.
And if I ever found a convention where he is there signing or doing something like that, like I'm there in a heartbeat. Like I would do anything to meet that guy. He's lovely and wonderful. So his performance in this, and so the director's cut, Legion, the theatrical cut, he's great. And it did take me a little bit to kind of get used to the cutting back and forth with having the original Damian Karras in there. It was a little tough for me to grasp. Like I hadn't watched it enough times or really known enough of the backstory that it felt like it was as if I was watching through the eyes of our police officer, George C. Scott, as if he's seeing the Gemini killer that person who they thought they had executed and didn't. But then we're also seeing Father Karras, who's supposed to be dead but isn't. So I felt
And
like
it's
it was
his best friend.
Right, exactly,
And
and
he
they were
didn't
close
recognize
friends,
him.
right? So it was this interesting like flip back and forth that I felt like it was almost like a borderline POV where we're flipping back and forth because this is something about the possession aspect that is making our police officer, our detective, see what they want them to see. I want to see the Gemini killer because I really want to solve this other case over here. I really want to see Damien Karras because they were my best friend and they were killed 15 years ago, and so I had kind of made my own interpretation of it, not fully grasping what it was that they were trying to do, that Damien Karras was actually a recast. So when we get to Legion and it's all Brad Dourif, I'm loving it so much because he is doing the things that Brad Dourif does so well. He is able to grasp horror and convey it through his eyes.
He does an
his
intensity that I think that was what was perfectly cast
Yes.
with him, because what he brought to that with his like ravings, and then he would do these silent, slow buildups and like would lean in and was just like, he is masterful at conveying that like inner darkness, but also recognizing who the Gemini killer was. James, is it McKinnon or Karen, Kenner? Yeah. Anyways, his character, the Gemini killer, was the victim of abuse. His brother and him, he had a handicapped brother who was significantly disabled, and their father was a very abusive preacher. And so he was able to bring that backstory into this character and really like flesh him out. But also he never was Damien Karras when he was in Damien Karras's body, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like when Brad Dourif's original role as the Gemini killer possessing the body of the priest, there was never a moment where we're like, well, there's Damien still there. There was one when he said Bill, and that was the only time we ever really heard Brad Dourif as Damien. We mainly only heard him as Mr. Sunshine / the Gemini killer.
Yeah.
In the book, he's called Mr. Sunshine.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But he's also called the Gemini killer. But
Yeah.
like he's Mr. Sunshine is
Yeah.
the assigned role name they gave him because he was a John Doe. Yeah.
Nice. Brad Dourif is just so good.
He is great in this.
Yep. He's...
You know who else is great in this? George C.
Scott is great in this.
Holy
he is so good.
That man eats
Yeah.
up every scene that he's
Oh,
in
he's
with,
chewing
like
scenes
he
the whole
is
time. Yep.
hungry for dinner because he is bringing it. Like his intensity and his emotion with Brad Dourif in this. Like there was just so many good acting, so much great acting happening in general. But like these two were spectacular.
Yeah.
I mean, just lighting up every
And
scene.
great dialogue. Even with Brad Dourif,
The
it's really
the
great.
dialogues are fantastic.
It's
They're
so
like that in the
good.
book.
Yeah.
There's this
And they're snappy.
phrase.
Like they feel like a lived-in world where people are
Yes.
interacting with each other and people that actually live in that world. And it's so good. Like all the cadences are so good and they're different between the different people. And you can see that
Absolutely.
character reacting the way, like they feel so lived in.
This
and
is
it's
Blatty,
just
man.
so good.
He directed, he wrote the screen.
It's great writing with great casting. Like they
Yeah.
cast the right people to
Yeah.
be able to pull this off.
But I also feel like even though like it's so jarring, Jason Miller, for what it's worth, did a very good job as what he could do with it. Like he
Yeah.
was, unfortunately, because of Wet Brain, like I said earlier, he wasn't able to retain and do the performances to completion. But what they were able to salvage from that was pretty fucking spectacular. I don't know if you know this, but those scenes where he's kind of like where he looks possessed and he's like like
Yeah.
purple and things like that. That is an actor wearing a Jason Miller mask
Oh,
that is uncredited.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I just thought that
Remember
was
when I was telling you,
kind of like,
I was like, I know one more thing about this film, but I'm going to surprise you with it.
yeah.
So that is
It just felt like an overlit Jason Miller where they had put on too much pancake makeup.
he's wearing a mask.
Wow. Okay.
That's why it's so like drawn and not
Yeah.
very emotional. And he's like, you know, where he's like looking up and he has that kind of bizarre vocalization. And
yeah,
that is a actor.
So a third person had to come in because they were removing the Brad Dourif stuff,
This
but
was
they
the
wanted the
exorcism
Jason
parts.
Miller idea in there, but he couldn't pull off the performance, so they had to bring that. Wow, what
Isn't
a
that
struggle
wild?
to get this thing done.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
But the exorcism was added at kind of more at the end, like they added Father
Yeah.
Mourning. They had to write in this character.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. The dialogue, they're still really great. Like
Mm-hmm.
the exorcism dialogue is really great. The unclean spirit, I've cast you out. Like we're like, okay, Merlin from Excalibur.
From Excalibur. Yeah. It's amazing. That
His blonde hair, I was like, it's so alarming.
It threw
Like-
me. Yeah, it's really bizarre. It almost was like albino,
But I
in
like
a
that when he
way.
comes into the room. It has that's an iconic scene, and he says,
Mm-hmm.
"Welcome, our Father Morning, welcome, enter night." You
Mm-hmm.
know, and you're like, "Oh my god!"
And that character comes out of nowhere. We have not been shown anything.
We got shown him earlier by one moment. We have a scene where in the I don't know what it's called, where priests live.
Right.
But like their monastery or abbot
Yeah.
or whatever the fuck it's called. He's got a little bird in a box, and there's this growling music that kind of goes over everything. It's done by Barry de Verizon or Varon or something like that, and he like does this like there's like this kind of monster sound, and then the bird dies, and then it's like ominous because we see him picking up the exorcism rites, and yeah.
Yeah, but that is our intro. It's like all of a sudden we're with this person. It's like, wait, we're like halfway through this film or a little bit more, and now we've got this person we're being introduced to. So, boom, here they are, and
So,
they're only in
yeah.
like 2 scenes, I think,
Yeah,
something like that.
he gets to have almost the final ending, but also
Yeah.
not quite.
Not quite.
Yeah.
Nope. Yeah, because he gets, am I remembering right? He gets taken out, and then it's George C. Scott during the whole like floor opening stuff goes on. Yeah.
The little murmurs of rosary beads and
Yes.
things like that. That conversation, which I
Yeah.
love all this. One of the things that kind of makes my brain like crackle is every time I hear the word incidentally. They use that
You were saying that, yeah.
so many times. Not only, I mean, in the Legion, in the book itself, I should get a count, but I counted 4 times in the film when they say the words incidentally, like in a
It's a
single
Blatty favorite for some
single
reason.
monologue.
Yeah.
But in the book, it'll be like different characters will say incidentally, and you're like, what the fuck? Like I was like, am I losing my mind? Am I hearing the word incidentally? Is it just standing out? But it just seems like it definitely is very stark,
Yeah.
and especially in the book, as well as the 4 times it gets used or 3 times it gets used in one single monologue. I was like, wow,
Yeah.
incidentally.
There's a lot of things that are like, just by the way.
Yeah, yeah. It's so good.
Yeah.
There are so many things that came out of this film that became iconic, as well as giant genre busting moments. There are so many still like single frame shots that are unbelievably breathtaking. I mean, just breathtaking. Like there is this scene in the coroner's office where they're having a discussion about the murder weapon that was used to kill the first victim, which was
Yeah.
the little boy who was killed outside with and crucified on rowing oars. His head is missing, and they've discovered that the weapon is a surgical tool used to crack rib cages, possibly not to take off heads, but I guess it can take off heads. But that there's a scene where the coroner is opening this tool so ominously, and it's reflecting back in his glasses, and we see as the audience the snapping shut of the scissors, and it's like we're like, oh yeah, that's gonna happen again.
Yeah, the glare is pretty perfect on there. You can just see all of that stuff in the glass. Yeah.
Oh, it's perfect.
I love beautiful stuff like that.
Me too. It's never lost on me. And this is probably why, like, again, I can go back and forth and say, like, this is one of my favorite films. The opening scenes of like the church, the wind blowing through the church.
The whole opening scene is so
it's
great.
so stunning, and like the creepy eyes of Jesus opening up, and like the roaring sound, and the word preacher, and just there are close-ups of people having a conversation that you feel like you're intimately there. Like there is a scene where they've just gone to go, they cheer each other. I'm sorry, I've jumped the gun a little bit. There's another character here, Father Dyer, who is also best friends with they were kind of like a trio of friends.
Yeah,
like Karras, Dyer, and Kinderman, and I guess these two have become extra close since the loss of their friend, and so every year they cheer each other up and go see the movie "It's a Wonderful Life," or they go to see a movie together or whatever, and go to see "It's a Wonderful Life." And after the movie, or right before the movie, or after the movie, they're having a conversation, and he's like talking about something so non-incidental, but it becomes such a moment and that we get to see into Kinderman's life, where he's talking about his mother-in-law is visiting and they're eating carp. But because the carp is such a filthy fish, it has to be full of impurities that it needs to have a few days to clean itself.
Clean water, yeah.
And so this carp is living in the bathtub, and he will not take a shower because if he sees the carp, he will kill it.
Right.
But the conversation is like, he's like, well, you're standing very close to me, Father, and you may notice that I have not had a bath in 3 days. And you're like, wow. It's just, these little dialogues are so like juicy and just lovely to listen to. And it feels lyrical as well as natural. And I don't know, that always awestruck me.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that conversation. I love things that give our characters texture.
Yes.
And it's not necessarily a setup to any particular kind of payoff. That could be a thing where he's talking about the carp in the water, and you could reference something back a little ways down the line. That would be fine. But it's really good character building dialogue that gives the two of them a rapport back and forth with each other and informs us about the character a lot without having to say, oh, I set up this one thing here with a carp and then we have to do something else.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not that deep, but it's a really great moment for us to see our character and who they are.
I think for me, I would honestly, like, I hate to say this, I don't say I hate to say this, but I think that it's as silly as it sounds. I think this is the film that for me was so impactful enough that it made me fall in love with cinematography and understanding cinematography. Because this was like 1990. I'm in high school when I'm like a freshman in high school when this comes out, and I think this was one of those moments that made me go, I've fallen in love with filmmaking, because this is the best of the best. Like, this is what I always want to watch. I mean, I can't say I can't, but like, I think that this was very impactful on me. And I think that's why I can continue to go back to it and always rewatch it and find something new or something a little more interesting or whatever to notice. But like, going back to the whole conversations, there is a gnat that keeps landing on my face. the relationships that these characters have with one another becomes very obvious. The relationship of Kinderman and his wife. We don't get to see it a lot in the film, but there's a little bit of that back and forth. In the book, wow. They have some spectacular like little notes that they write each other. Their phone calls are very loving. They call each other like darling and dumpling and sweetheart. And it's just, we get a very strong sense of them loving one another. And I love that aspect that you didn't get that in the film per se, but you did see their family dynamic, like, which I think builds into what makes Bill be able to deal with the daily darkness that he deals with as an officer.
Yeah.
And it allows him to, I don't know, to have the strength because he has this beautiful like family that like one another care. They all kind of support and care for one another. Even his wild mother-in-law.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and so that dynamic is a little bit more on the exposition side. We're kind of told about that. We don't really get to see the mother-in-law a lot or a lot of the dynamic with the family, even though our kind of last few scenes kind of hinges on stuff that has the family in it and his reaction to it, which is fine. It's not done poorly. Like we've got all the things that we need
to know
in that story
who's the good guy.
Right. To be able to make all of that stuff pay off. What I really appreciate this film for a lot is how he builds tension, and especially in one particular scene, which is the whole reason that I actually went and watched Exorcist 3 the first time I ever watched it.
It kind of I was not going to say that this is the initial beginning of jump scares, but this is the penultimate jump scare. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, but I think that everything that is a jump scare since then is a cheap interpretation of what this built with this particular scene. And this is with the nurse that is at the nurse's station making the rounds. And we're in Legion, we're getting the pace is much quicker in Legion. Things happen a little bit quicker. So it feels like it's a little bit later in the film in Legion where it happens. We're into the third act, or we're just starting to get close to the third act. I think in the original theatrical cut, it happens like at the midway part, somewhere in there. It feels a little bit different because the pacing is different with that one. But it is a nurse that we have seen a few times. We're really not sure who the killer is. We've been having the interactions with the Brad Duriff, Jason Miller, Gemini killer / Dr. or Father Karras that's locked up in the detention wing of this facility. So we're not sure how the murders are happening.
We do get a foreshadowing, though, in that moment. One of the conversations when he says, Amy counting her beads.
Yes.
And he says that the master will be giving him something tasty, something not personal to him, that's something random.
Right. And we see that in there, but we haven't really been able to, at this point in time, figure out who our killer is or how this could all be happening.
Right.
It's a little bit more on obviously the possession side for the theater cut. So I feel like it's a little bit less, but better done in the Legion version of it because because the suspense is there. But it's that one particular scene with Nurse Amy where she's at the nurse's station, and it's essentially, there's really only two cuts in the whole thing. We've got everything that happens from a hallway with Amy at the nurse's station. She's there. There's a guard there. There's some noise that's going on, but we spend a whole lot of time in just this one single shot. And Nurse Amy comes out, checks a room, comes back down. There's this creepy noise happening, goes into another room. This is where our first cut actually happens, where we then have, I guess, a jump scare that does happen in there, but that's not actually like the real.
She accidentally wakes up a patient.
A patient that's kind of like tucked down and hidden a little bit, and the noise has been this melting ice in a glass that's shifting and
so
creaking.
loud.
Yeah, Yeah, it's so loud she can hear it from the nurse's station. But we have that jump scare. When we watched the theatrical version, I jumped because I had forgotten about that. And you kind of giggled. You did that, yeah. And it was exciting because I knew what we were coming to.
Yeah.
And then when I got this jump in there, that got me, and I was like, oh yeah. But really, it's then what happens after that, where she returns to the hall. We're back in that long shot down the hallway. There's kind of a big camera dolly push in. She goes back to the nurse's station. We've got the guard that's there. It's moving around. Another guard shows up, calls that guard away. They leave. We hear more stuff. Nurse Amy is starting to react to that a little bit. She's kind of going down the hall and goes into another room to kind of look around, disappears into there. Our guard comes back, picks up his stuff, and then leaves. And now we've got Nurse Amy in that room, comes out of the room. The door kind of almost closes, but doesn't. Amy closes it. And this is so good. It's so good. It's the whole reason that I saw it, because when she leaves and goes down, and then that door flies open and that person in the white sheet comes out of there with the big shears and goes down there, and the way that like the screaming crescendo music sound and all that stuff, it's like, holy fuck, that's frightening. And I didn't
So
jump.
scary.
I didn't jump because it doesn't feel like a jump scare, because you're not in it. Like, you're not so close to it that it feels like it's a jump,
Yeah.
but that it's so much more frightening because I don't go, ah! I go, holy fuck, holy fuck, holy fuck, holy fuck, as that person is like shooting down the hallway after her. We don't see the kill, but man,
And
it's so good.
It's so stark too, because it's like we see like, so coloration wise, we have like the green quiet of the calming colors of a hospital.
Yeah.
And like you can see a far distant lighting, and there's that matte painting that is like perfectly aligned to make the hallway look even longer.
Yeah.
So it already has like a shining kind of vibe.
Yeah.
So we're already like feeling ominous, and we just know that something bad's about to fucking happen. And it, like you said, it was silence until that moment. It's like the quiet conversations, like you can barely hear the guards kind of talking back and
Right.
They're like, okay, I'm gonna go grab my stuff, and like everything is so building up to that moment. And her like wearing white with this red sweater is such a stark coloration.
Yeah.
And the image of the person with the covered in white sheets with the big silver
Big silver shears. Yeah.
It's just, and we know that these are the same shears that earlier when he was talking to the coroner, we started to put the story together. We're like, oh, okay, these are the shears that are missing, because when he's having this conversation with the coroner earlier about why is there a printing tag on there, and he was like, oh, it's a replacement. He goes, replacing what happened to the other ones. He was like, I don't know.
We don't know. They're gone.
Now we know.
Yeah.
And then we later discover that Amy has been eviscerated and has had her body cavity filled with rosary beads and sewn back together.
Yeah. And her head was removed.
And her head was removed.
Yeah. And at the same time, too, so she's been murdered, but then we also have a dead physician who is, I guess, like the lead facility manager there. He's killed himself.
Oh, yeah, Scott Wilson.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Whew, here we go. Scott Wilson.
Yeah.
Which, again, one of those actors that I love.
So great.
And Blatty used him in the Ninth Configuration. He plays the astronaut that loses his mind at the very beginning.
Yeah.
And has all the terrible things happen to him.
Yeah. He's been our facility manager in here and has kind of brought George C. Scott around on some tours, has been kind of the contact for everything in there. He smokes cigarettes in a very bizarre way. Walks around with his cigarette the whole time this way. For a while, it's not even lit. For a while, it's a completely unlit cigarette.
Yeah.
In there.
This body language is just like
Yep.
so unnatural, like to be smoking like this.
Yeah.
I mean, every once in a while I find myself doing this when I'm holding myself, but I've definitely never held a cigarette like this.
Yeah.
Or anything.
Yep. So
Such a weird.
He ends up being the murderer of Nurse Amy. He's committed suicide, so they connect those two, but they aren't able to connect him to the...
Wait.
Don't they connect him to the murders? Because he's committed suicide in his office. They're still trying to figure it out because he doesn't have, his fingerprints aren't the fingerprints that end up on Father Dyer's cups. So Father Dyer gets killed in the facility. All of his blood drained out of him and left in sample cups. And the thumbprint that they finally pull is from a person who is a patient in there who's mostly catatonic.
Yeah. So I don't remember. I don't think Scott Wilson was considered the facility. He wasn't considered one of the killers.
Oh, I thought he wasn't. I thought he was in the Legion one. I thought that they had connected him, but they were trying to figure out how that could.
They thought
be.
He was letting him out.
Oh, then I misunderstood it then. And that actually kind of makes some sense that he's maybe been letting this person out and do it. And that's why he committed suicide.
Well, in the book, he has he has terminal cancer.
He has terminal cancer, which they don't bring up in the film.
Yeah.
He's a smoker, perpetual smoker. They do kind of show it because at one point in time, he's literally lighting his next drag off of the last cherry. Like he's doing this whole here's my cherry on this one. Yeah. And it's kind of a really bizarre, because he's got a nervousness about him too, where he's tried to prepare his own statement about something and he's written it out and it's having a hard time getting that out. He actually kind of keeps referring to his own notes while he is in turn also lighting his next cigarette off of the prior cherry that he was dragging off of. Yeah.
The death of Father Dyer was also one of those scenes that was just a beautifully shot scene as well. Like when we have, so we're going back a little bit before the death of Amy. Father Dyer is murdered, and when George C. Scott finds out, or Kinderman finds out, he goes to the room and everybody's kind of standing and they all turn and look at him. There are that moment of paranoia where everybody is looking at you and they're all they don't know what to say. Mm-hmm. The room is really, really clean. There's just a table that has all these containers filled with some substance on them. There's a piece of black plastic over something on the wall.
Yeah.
And this is kind of when we start to confirm that there is something has happening with this, with Brad Duriff being the Gemini killer, because they pull the plastic off, and it says, because he says, he goes, what's in these containers? And they say, well, this is Father Dyer's entire blood supply except for the writing. And he's like, what writing? And they pull back the sign. It's wonderful, 2 L's, life.
Yeah, which is another Gemini killer giveaway. Yeah.
And then he goes to talk to Damien Karras in the cell, and Damien goes into this diatribe about how when he's killing somebody and how he was so proud of this killing because he had used succinylcholine, and how he had thread a catheter through the vena cava and was squeezing the body to create.
Start at the feet.
It's just
squeeze.
Oh
them.
my God.
Yeah.
It's so such a good narrative. And we as the audience are holy crap.
Yeah. And it's back to that performance of Brad Dourif. He has a delicate intensity to him.
Gleeful.
Because it's, I guess.
Well, he's almost gleeful because he's like, and then I cut their head off. And then sometimes when I see them gawking, I show them their body.
Right. That's the effect of that means that they can feel everything, but they're paralyzed. And the one last gift I give them, I cut their head off, and they have 20 seconds of consciousness before they completely shut down. So I show them their body as a last gift. And he's just delivering that. It's not even matter-of-factly, because he does have, I guess it's a little bit of glee. It's he's very impressed with himself. He's very happy about. There's a satisfaction.
He's an
in
artist.
Being
He
able
says,
to do this.
"Did
Yes,
you know you're
very much
talking
so.
to an artist?"
Yes.
Yeah.
Before we ever have a Buffalo Bill or a Hannibal,
Yeah.
to have that, we have this. We have and I guess those are all actually relatively around that same time. I forget when it is that the Silence of the Lambs came out, somewhere around like 86, 88. So
Yeah. 80. Yeah, something like
yeah,
that.
somewhere in that line is where we had Silence of the Lambs. So we've
But
got
this
these.
This was less of a like gentleman killer,
Agreed.
like Hannibal was, and more of a he's not likable, but there is a charisma to his descriptions of how he kills.
Yeah.
And I think that's what
It's something
makes
only
him interesting.
only Brad Dourif could do this.
Right,
I honestly, like, there are just times when a character and a performance happens where it's only this person could have done this. Other people could have done their version that probably would have been quite enjoyable and fine and great, and that's all good. The way that, to me, Wormtongue could only be one person, and it's Brad Dourif in that performance, and it's beautiful, and it's elegant, and it's ugly, and it's just so him. And this is the same way with Brad Dourif. Only Brad Dourif could have done this, and
Absolutely.
it's magnificent.
His ability to rave is like just, I mean, it's pretty fucking spectacular.
It is.
Like, he does it as
Yes.
Chucky, and I'm like, woof. Like, I think that what brings, like, makes, I was never like a big Chucky fan, but, and I find them to be, those movies to be pretty funny for the most part. They're hilarious to me, but they're not quite so scary. But I think that his ability to like rage and rant and like, but also bring it back down, and like he has this range in him that is that makes that film for me. And I think that's why I think I like both versions, but I think I will always love the theatrical version first, because that's the first one I ever saw. And
Yeah.
even though like the silliness of the exorcism aspects of it aside, I think that the fan cut is what I want to check out. That whole like seeing what that looks like with the with both Jason Miller and Brad Dourif. But yeah, that killing was one of those moments that really made George C. Scott's character even more like you feel for him, because now he's lost his other best friend, and now
Father Dyer, yeah.
he's lost. But prior to the death of his friend, he has this dream. And one of the things that Blatty explores in the three, or specifically the two like films, which is The Ninth Configuration and then this one, he explores this kind of connection that we have with the universe, that we're getting these signals that tell us that they're warning us and letting us know that, like, kind of trying to put the pieces together. Because Bill has this dream about going into a way station, and it's like a train station, or any kind of like a purgatory, where the angel of death is there. He's filling out tarot cards that are like death and the fool, and I think like the tower. I'm not sure exactly which cards they were, or the devil, I think is what I remember seeing. It was like the devil and the tower. And he sees like the little boy. He's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry you were killed." And he's like, "It's okay, Father," or "It's okay, Lieutenant."
Yeah.
And he's like holding his hand, and the big band of angels is playing, and we see Fabio, a cameo by Fabio as an angel. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, right, that just happened." But everybody's looking at him, and it's not like ominous, but it also is foretelling, because he sees Father Dyer, and he's got like these stitched neck, and he says, "Are we both dreaming?" And he goes, I'm not dreaming Bill.
Yeah, this is right before Father Dyer is dead. He is
Yeah.
actually imagining he has this dream of an interaction in which that's kind of almost a goodbye, like a matter of factly goodbye. It's like it's already happened. And
we also see the other priest that was killed in the confessional.
yes.
That was the first killing after the little boy.
Yes. Yeah, we kind of get everybody in here. We have the little boy. He's talking with him. We see the priest in the confessional.
Yeah. His neck stitched back together.
Yep.
This was,
So
this
good.
was that from that iconic scene where you see like the statue that's headless.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, one year I had a birthday party that was Exorcist III themed. We drank out of little specimen cups, and it was good times.
Well, and that was our little boy. His head is cut off. They find the head somewhere else, and it's been replaced with the head of a statue of Mary, I believe. Is it Mary or is it Jesus?
It's painted like a minstrel.
That's right. It was, it was a very racist coloration on there. And then when we had the priest that's killed in the confessional, his head is cut off and set in his lap.
Which is unfortunate that there are
shot
no
it.
films of this.
Yeah, they filmed it. You told me about this. They filmed it.
They just have pictures.
Yeah, they didn't preserve the footage for that and didn't use it, so all they had were some stills.
What a
and the
shame.
stills are pretty cool.
They are. That would have been really cool to get to have seen that.
Yeah, there was some really graphic stuff that we don't get to see that one. We're only ever told about the boy who is killed, who is his head is removed, his blood is removed. The head is found later. It's got the head from the Jesus statue on there that's painted up like a minstrel. But then the boy is actually then also crucified on a set of oars that were taken out of the boathouse from the Georgetown campus of the Jesuit priests that have a rowing team. So, so it's fairly gruesome in there. Yeah, but we didn't get to see it. We're told about it, but that's.
I think that was a smart choice.
I agree.
I think that using that, like having that happen off screen and just having no like hints at it creates more in our head. We're like, ooh, like how bad this would look and like how terrifying, because we get flashes of it. Like we'll get a flash of like the way that Jesus statue head looks painted in a minstrel.
Yeah.
One of the other really cool like dialogues that we get there are these conversations with the catatonic ward, which is where where we kind of first discover Brad Dourif's.
Are you here to fix my radio?
Oh my gosh, she is my favorite.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I love that story. I love that little like interaction, and because she's so like, what's her name? Clelia. She has George C. Scott's going to question her because they find her fingerprints on the interior of the panel sliding back and forth on the where the priest was killed.
No, didn't they find hers on the cups?
Oh, yeah, you're right.
She was in the cups. Why
That's
were
right.
you in the room? Yeah.
There was another lady who they found on that one. But yeah, so he goes to question her, and she hands him, she's like, "Are you a radio repairman?" And he's like, "Yes." And she's like, "Well, my radio isn't working. It only has dead people talking." And he's like, "Oh." Then he goes to take this invisible radio, and she goes, "It's a telephone. I knew you weren't a radio repairman. It's okay. Everybody makes that mistake."
Yeah.
And you're just like, but I love, there's a phrase that she says, "Nobody fixes anything around here. It's all just a bunch of pies and anchovies." And I just I'm like, there's no reason to put those two things together.
Yeah. And
I just think it's such an absurd comparison, but it's one of my favorite. I even use it as my Facebook bio. It's like I'm just a bunch of pies and anchovies, because I just think it's so ridiculous and like such a contrast. It's like the whole Raven at a writing desk. Like, what's the difference? Like, okay, there we go, pies and anchovies.
I've tried so hard to find a connection to it. I haven't looked into any trivia stuff to see. I don't find it.
Yeah.
And yet I find that very endearing and amusing. I
Yeah.
love that it's used that way.
Yes.
Because as a filmmaker who has had lines where I have been amused by a thing that I have written that's in there, and people have gone, well, what does that mean? And I'm like, I don't know that it really means anything. This person's kind of off their rocker, and they just said
He's
something that's on there.
catatonic.
Well, you've got to make it mean something. Do I? Like, I can understand that I need to have a very particular series of setups and all of this stuff, but why can't I have somebody that just says something that's so absurd that doesn't mean anything?
I think that was the point. I think that there wasn't supposed to be a truly a connection or a deeper meaning. I think that
Right.
was supposed to be that it was just
It's a delusional person.
she's a delusional person, and that this because nothing gets fixed. This is absurd.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of pies and anchovies.
Yep.
Yeah. But he wasn't a radiator repairman. But she tells him he has a kind face.
Yeah.
And there's that moment of, I think that was just kind of spectacular. And that, again, another really great monologue by Blatty. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, I know that he was probably known for kind of being a butthole at times, a perfectionist. Not as much as Friedkin, but like definitely.
Yeah, Friedkin was an asshole.
Yeah, yeah. Made some good films though. But yeah, I think that this is masterful, and as far as like dialogue that feels natural but also feels otherworldly. Yeah.
It's a great film. This was an excellent choice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites. I mean, clearly, I could rant on and on and on about it.
Yeah. Well, I'm not stopping you.
Themes I think that I love about themes about this film that are in this film that you see reflected in the other films about like death and rebirth and the concept of good versus evil. I think that this is a triumph of showing how good can survive. I mean, we see like as we kind of ramp up towards the end of the film, it's where in the Legion cut or in the theatrical cut, we have the introduction of Father Morning. Father Morning is going to take the spirit out because we've all kind of, at least George C. Scott is now convinced. He's like, I believe.
So Father Morning basically goes in there, tries to do an exorcism, gets killed, and then that is when Kinnerman comes in and they have their big confrontation. The floor opens up, he gets pinned against the wall, and then it ends.
Well, what's happening in the same time is that they've had in the body of, there is an identification part that happens, where in the theatrical version, we don't see this confirmation happen, but we do see it in Legion, in the Legion cut. And this is where he is like, I believe that this is Damien Karras. Because Damien tells them that he doesn't do it in the theatrical version, but in the Legion cut, he says that he's like, I scared this other priest half to death, and this as I was climbing out of my grave, because now we were like, oh, he wasn't actually just picked up walking around; he climbed out of his grave.
Right. Yeah. So as they buried Damien Karras, that father.
Yes.
Who gets then possessed, and then that demon possessed body crawls out of the grave,
Right.
scares another priest who has a heart attack and dies.
Who's like we discover is like was at the end of his priesthood anyway, was deciding that he
Right.
didn't want to be a priest anymore. So they just kind of assume that he just kind of fucked off.
Right.
And he ends up being put in the
Stuffed back into the coffin.
like
yeah.
crunched up, stuffed up.
Yeah.
In the book, they make a really detailed description about the fact that this guy's like 6'2", and that Karras is like a small Italian guy.
Oh,
and so
okay.
like boom, he's like folded up into the coffin,
Yeah.
like gruesomely described. And it's in the theatrical version, that's not super clear that this is the body of. They kind of slowly confirm it, but like in the theatrical or in the director's version and the Legion cut, we see like a definite confirmation. He's standing over the grave. They're showing like the perspective of like them standing up and looking down into the dirt, and then him being like, that's not Father Karras. And you're like, oh shit. now we believe.
Yeah.
And then we have the diatribe of, I believe in cruelty and infidelity and suffering and all the stinking, awful things that, that scene, which is spectacular. Both ways are done well. I feel like it's a little anticlimactic in Legion, whereas the spectacle of it in the theatrical version is quite more intense, because we have like the coming out of the ground and the lightning and the
the floor
rain
opens
and the
up
floor is opening up, and that's very theatrical
Yeah.
and kind of spectacular. And he's like praying for himself. He's praying, and that's when Jason Miller is like, the weird version of Jason Miller is all like, your prayers, your sweaty prayers and over murmurings of beads. It's that voice that like cracks me up that they have him doing, that I'm like, is that him, or is that like some old lady? But that finale kind of ends the same, in a way that he says he has a moment of clarity, and he's like, kill me now, Bill, kill me now. And Bill shoots him, and then he shoots him in the brain so that he can't be rebuilt and brought back, and has to say goodbye to all of his friends. And it's so devastating that to watch him have to have him kill his friend.
Yeah.
Because he talks about him like prior to that in like earlier scenes where he's like, he was a wonderful human being, like cared deeply for humans and was sensitive to the spirit of people's, fragility of mental fragility, and just how wonderful of a person he was.
Yeah. He sacrificed himself in the original film for Regan.
And that's the sad part, is that and that's what the element of evil in this is, right? Like that he was such a good person and tried to save Regan and was able to, but then his payback was that he was brought back to life and made to suffer, made to be tormented. Wow, what a bummer.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is my favorite movie.
Yeah, I can see why. I really love it. I honestly can tell you that I deeply wish there had been a better archival system to keep the original footage. It's very typical to have that happen on things, but man, to have had that original footage that could have been restored and make that Legion cut. I actually prefer the Legion cut of the two. I really like the theatrical cut.
Yeah.
I do. And they did the very best they possibly could of trying to reshoot things to insert and then recut that film. But I love all of the extra of Brad Dourif. And once I understood that it was a recasting, and that's what we were dealing with then, is a recast of that, I liked the more Brad Dourif stuff.
Well, it's funny. Like I was watching this interview with Brad Dourif talking about this film and how disappointed he was when they were like, yeah, we're done. We're going to go with Jason Miller because this is what the audience testing well with, blah, 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 blah. And how when they told him to come back, like he was working on other projects, and he came back and he was like, I need 2 days and a slave / a PA and basically to somebody to run lines with. And he went through and that's why there was a more extreme intensity in the
so even he did reshoots.
Yeah, because
after the Jason Miller stuff, because they had to then reshoot that.
Because Jason Miller had to do what they were able to take of Jason Miller's performance, and they were like, all right, so we need Brad Dourif to do this version, and then we'll put the two together. And I thought that they did a really good job, because honestly, if I had never known that this was part of a bigger project, I mean, because in the 90s I didn't know this was the only version I had, and so I think that that's why I still love like the theatrical version, because I think that it was some seamless like transitions between the two of them because they weren't using basically the old stuff.
Yeah.
They were just doing this was the reshoots, period.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah. That's why when we see like the Legion cut, there's reshoots they're the reshoots from the theatrical version that are being used. Mm-hmm. And there's some like sound stuff where we have like the spectacular like sound work that he's doing.
Yeah.
And then like the growls and I do wish they got to keep, there's a few things like going back incidentally. There's a few things I would like to have seen them have done in the original that were done or put in the reshoots, which was like the impressions that he does. He does one, like he has the like the that one, right, like the aria one, and there is also his brother. Those voices would have been kind of cool to see, but he does this like kind of neat like animal impressions and train locomotive impressions, and those are really cool in the Legion cut. That would have been cool to have seen those in the theatrical cut.
Yeah,
because those are also in the book as well. So it's like I'm kind of like my brain is like trying to translate which one I'm looking at because I'm like I can visualize it now having read the book. I definitely recommend going and reading that if you get the opportunity because it is again some masterful dialogue and conversations and like very natural, like we were saying earlier. Yeah.
I really
thanks for watching my favorite film with me.
I'm so glad that we got to watch this. I'm happy that I got to actually watch it with you now, like both of these versions, having watched the first one and not fully understood everything, but it was so much fun watching these films with you, but it's a fantastic realization of just what happens, how difficult it is to make a film anytime, 1970s, 1990, any of that, because here's Blatty, who had an Academy Award-winning film made from something that he wrote, The Exorcist. And he gets to make the 9th configuration. I don't know how much of a theatrical release that got or what his budget was.
Yeah.
Here they are trying to make his film that he wants to, that's a third film in this series of stories, and then it becomes really inserted into The Exorcist as Exorcist 3, because they're trying to keep that going as a franchise. And it's so difficult to make a movie. And the fact that it got done and then, reshoots with Brian Miller, reshoots with Brad Dourif, and trying to cut something together, it's so hard. It's so hard. And you're trying to make something for yourself, but you're trying to make something for an audience, but you're trying to make something for studio executives and get the next budget or be able to afford your rent. And it's so complicated.
Yeah.
And so every one is just a magical, happy moment to get it actually finished and out there for the world.
I think we need to, next step, we should try to find this fan edit that does like the ultimate cut. Because I would be curious as to see like how that looked. I mean, I could see it in my head, like removing like the father mourning aspects and then, but having those like transitions between Jason Miller and Brad Dourif.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to watch these both more and maybe more back to back, or even just get to the places. I would really love to watch all of the Brad Dourif, Jason Miller stuff back to back or against each other. I would like to see the differences in the performances.
His intensity to me is much more prevalent in the theatrical version versus the Legion version, because the Legion version, we're looking at dailies and stuff like that. So they're not like, I don't think they're like the best performances. And he even says something about like how he would do like multiple takes, and like they would like 20 minutes at a time. He was doing like these takes of these dialogues or these monologues. And then they would have like him go like, can you do it a little bit differently and add more this to it. I mean, it's like, acting is hard, man. I'm not an actor. It's
so hard.
I don't know how people do it. Like I would be too raw, like touching some of those emotions. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very difficult. And I've taken acting classes and done performing in front of the camera with lines. I find this is easy. I can do this, but trying to become a character,
Yes.
providing, having been provided dialogue to give a performance for something that is very particular is extremely hard.
Oh, I mean, I've done a little bit of voiceover acting,
Yeah.
and that was even in itself is like, how do I sound how do I sound natural without sounding like I'm trying to do an impression of something?
Yeah.
Because I was trying to do like a Rosemary's Baby impression, and I'm like, how do I even access that? I'm like,
Yeah. And some actors have a very difficult time coming in and out. I remember one actor that I worked with, very high end. This was, a big production, and this person, and I, if I were to judge it, I would say this character that they're having to come in and out of isn't necessarily all of that. But when they would have intense scenes, sometimes they would go walk around and they would pull us aside. And I wasn't directing. I was actually a production assistant on this. But this actor would come over to me, and we would go over to the side, and they would ask me questions about hey, how come, do you ever do, and they would ask me personal questions about my life, and we would talk. And the first one or two times it happened, I didn't understand. I thought maybe they were wanting to get to know me better, but why at this moment and why this way? Mm-hmm. And someone said, oh no, he actually has a hard time coming out of that character. So when he's got really intense scenes of a particular kind, he really amps himself up and gets himself really wound up into a place where he can be. And that's why he's able to give the performance that he does. But when they say cut, he's still all wound up.
yeah.
And he needs something to kind of come back down, and having a human conversation with somebody helps him. And that's why he does it. And the fact that he keeps coming back to you means that he's found some human grounding that's working for him to be able to come in and out of that. So that was interesting and felt really good about that. But to put himself into a place to do these things took work, and it took work to come out of it.
I could see trying to access this kind of darkness and also this despair. I glossed over, I feel like George C. Scott's performances, but they were my favorites were it's not in the file, and his crying and him pulling him, being a man that's pulling himself back from crying because he's I'm a man and I can't be crying in front of my crew. Mm-hmm. And those moments, those were so humanizing and so riveting to watch. And I think that's what, again, draws you into this story so easily. Mm-hmm. Man.
Yeah. This is a great film. And I will say, to a certain degree, I love the original Exorcist. I do love that film. I think all attempts to try to continue to make that a franchise have not worked.
No.
And they want to, and I know there's continuations of that happening today still. There was Exorcist New Beginning. Is that what that was? What was that latest film from a year or two ago?
Believer.
Oh, yeah, Exorcist Believer. That didn't work so well. I know there's other stuff in the works because I think Blumhouse had bought that.
They're giving it to...
I think that it is going to Haunting of Hill House Flanagan.
Yeah,
I think he's been tapped to do that. I don't know if that's changed or not. But
I think that he could do a good job.
He could. Flanagan understands storytelling and characters really well in a horror setting. I think his work is magnificent. You and I were just talking about Life of Chuck.
Yeah, I would like to see I feel like I want to see an interpretation. I don't need a canonically, well, I mean, obviously there needs to be some kind of canonically tie, but I don't need to see a redo.
Yes.
I would like to see in the universe of.
I am totally happy with that. Like Star Wars, I don't need to have a Jedi or a Skywalker in something.
Right.
Feel free to have something that's happening in that universe and just give us a good story. Absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Flanagan did the sequel to Ouija. And he
Yeah.
did, I think it's Ouija Origin or something like that.
I think that one was the better of them, if I remember properly.
It's excellent. I think it's his first feature for a studio. I think he had done some independent stuff, and that became his first one before he then did his next film, which was Oculus, I believe. I'd have to look that back
Oculus
up.
was pretty good, too.
Oculus was really good. Karen Gillan, I think that's his first time with Karen Gillan. I don't think she was in the Ouija film. But I tried to watch that Ouija film. It was just a very typical blah, 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 but he gets the sequel and it's a kind of a prequel to that where we actually get to see it. It's really good. Mm-hmm. And so he has a way of understanding characters and dynamics in the world that they're in. I loved Dr. Sleep.
Oh, yeah, that's Flanagan?
Flanagan did that.
That was great.
It was so good. And I love The Shining. Mm-hmm. But I also have issues with The Shining.
Sure.
And I loved Dr. Sleep. And Dr. Sleep, I think, is an excellent... He was able to make a sequel to the book and the film at the same time.
Agreed.
Of The Shining. And pulled it off. So good. It's so good. Yeah, but that's for a different episode. It's going into the world of Exorcist. Yeah. I
watched the series. I thought
Yeah.
the first season was spectacular with Gina Davis did a fantastic job. Mm-hmm. I liked what they were doing. I feel like if Flanagan was gonna, it would be kind of interesting for him to pull some of the cool storyline that was starting to happen in the first one versus like the second one, which was a kind of a falling apart of a family, and that was hard to watch. Mm-hmm. But like they all kind of were like that. I mean, the first series was watching a family fall apart.
Yeah.
And then we found out the secret twist, but I'm not going to tell you because you got to watch that series.
Yeah, I'll have to go and find it and watch those.
Yeah,
so.
it's a good time. It was a pretty good series. A couple of things came out that year. It was like Exorcist, and then the Omen series was kind of mid. Mm-hmm. But I feel like if we're going to be getting back into the universe of the Exorcist, it would be kind of cool to pull in maybe like the Ouija board that she used to talk to Captain Howdy.
Oh.
Or like, something like that. Like bringing it like that way. Or somebody finds the headless statue of Christ. Mm-hmm. And we're like, what is happening there? Yeah. Like I would love to give me those little canonic nods, and I will be a very satisfied customer.
Yeah.
I will 100% go see your movie.
Well, so with that though, what ends up being the difference between all the other exorcism films? Because like there was like Russell Crowe was just in 2 exorcism films. Let me go back. So the silliness. Here's the silliness of it, right? So like Friedkin talked to, when he was doing The Exorcist, he talked to an exorcist priest named Father Amort. Mm-hmm. And became friends with him and whatnot. And so like he does this documentary called The Devil and Father Amort. And it's basically we get to see supposedly some exorcism footage. I saw it. I am not a believer, but I'm also not Catholic. So I'm just not a believer in possession. I not in the traditional sense. Like I'm fascinated by the concept of possession in the sense of like, this is a control and you have lost your sense of self and something has mastery over you, whether it be supernatural or whatever. But I find that to be an interesting concept. Like I love the movie Possessor for that reason. That was a great interpretation of possession. But Father Amort is who Russell Crowe plays in the Pope's Exorcist. Mm-hmm. So that's that tie. And then he somehow is also cast in The Exorcism or something like that. Yeah.
Or Exorcism. And it's about a fallen actor who is taking on a role of a priest, of an exorcism priest. And it's kind of parallel to the problems they were having on the first Exorcist film. Incidentally, Joseph Miller is the director of this.
Oh, Jason Miller's son.
Like stepson, yeah.
Or stepson. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't that wild?
That's really crazy, yeah.
And so I just like, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the ties.
Yeah.
It's very like the troubled set that they were having. That's because I don't know if people know this, but like the first exorcism film is considered a cursed film because some of the actors died, and
oh, I didn't know that.
Linda Blair got like her back broken in that.
I didn't know that.
There was a lot of like serious issues with that film.
This is like the poltergeist curse then,
right,
too.
exactly. It's in that Shudder does a series called Cursed Films, I think is what it's like. And
really?
It's one of them.
Oh.
It's like, I think the first one they talk about is that one. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, probably got the Twilight movie then for that scene that was filmed that killed 3 folks.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, John Landis was filming a scene for the Twilight Zone, the movie.
Yeah.
And he was simulating a helicopter crash in Vietnam where a character had been pulled back. And so the real life actor is running with 2 kids that he's supposed to be, and the helicopter that has real rotors rotating on it is supposed to fall over, and it falls over in a bad wreck, and it hits them.
Oh, man.
In the filming. And they finished the Twilight film, and they obviously
Twilight
put it
Zone.
out. Twilight Zone, the film.
I was like, when you said Twilight, I was like, Twilight's a cursed movie? I mean,
Twilight
it's cursed.
Zone, yeah. Twilight Zone, the movie, yes.
Yeah.
It's a good correction because I haven't seen any of the Twilight films, so yeah. But so I can see where there would be a series of those things where things happen. So.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. Like there's a few films, Poltergeist being one of them, and then like The Exorcist, and I'm not sure I can't remember the other one. It's been a minute since I've watched that documentary.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. So that's the ties. And then like I would like to see if we're going to continue in the universe of The Exorcist and to the next films, I would say, please be respectful of fans and thoughtful, because the only tie that they brought in for Believer was Ellen Burstyn, and then they didn't use it. They just they didn't use her.
Yeah.
Like she's like, and she had the stupidest lines. Like, what did she say? She was like, because of the patriarchy. Well, of course. It is the Catholic.
It's the Catholic Church.
Well, it's like that. Why would that line even exist? Like, why would she even say like the patriarchy stopped her from doing something? And I'm like, this is a stupid, why was she given this?
Yeah.
She is an Academy actress. Why is she given garbage lines?
Yeah.
Like she was just, it was ridiculous.
Cashing them checks.
Well, and then her to be like going on a press tour about it and like, being like, this is going to be great. And I'm like, have you seen this movie? Fuck. Because I saw this movie and this is not great.
Yeah.
And this is not even like worthy of you putting your name on it, because they immediately blind her and you're like, oh, this is fucking stupid.
Oh, wow.
Have you seen it?
No,
it's
I
a
haven't.
garbage fire.
Well, and I haven't seen the prequels, the Dominion films, and I kind of want to hate watch those.
Those aren't that bad.
Yeah.
In comparison to...
Really? Because Rennie Harlin is notorious for making terrible films. I don't like Rennie Harlin films. And he makes the second Dominion version over the first one that was made, both of them having Skarsgård. And like, I don't know what percentage of the film was reshot by Rennie Harlin.
There's some ridiculous like Africa type. I don't.
Yeah.
It's not, they're not good.
Because they try to it's like they're trying to do the prequel of Pazuzu stuff, I think.
Well, you want to know a
Dominion.
fun fact about Pazuzu?
Sure.
So I know you love the movie Legend.
Yes.
So in the swamp in Legend,
Yeah.
Pazuzu statue is in the swamp.
Oh, there's a Pazuzu statue? Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. That's Meg's Mucklebone is the swamp witch in there.
So that's like...
I'm just dropping names out of this film.
They're like, they just had this like weird, they were like, oh, we need this weird statue for, and then I don't even think they realized this was, because was the statue used? Like not until the Dominion film, right? Or
wasn't there a statue when we first see
in Africa.
film in Africa? Well, and like I think they're in
The
North
Exorcist.
Africa, because I think there is a shot where there's like a zoom out. We see a few things. We see our father
that's
there
right,
at like
she does
sunset.
that thing in the bed where she's like this, and they superimpose the Pazuzu.
Right, that we kind of saw like a shot of really quick in the beginning.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so they were like, they must have been like shooting Legend, and they were like, well, there's a statue.
It's a prop. Let's use it.
Let's just use it. Because I mean, remember that set was like they had to build that set, and
they had to build. Well, they had to build the Legend set a second time because they burned the first one down. So it could very well be that if that was part of the second set that they had to build, they were just like populate it.
Yeah,
we got a Pazuzu in the back. Put it in.
And I just thought that was really funny little trivia I had read, and I was like, I don't remember that. It's like I saw and then I saw the still for it, and I was like, holy shit! But it's in shadow.
Yeah,
it's just the outline of like the butterfly looking wings behind Pazuzu. I was like,
gotta go back and watch Legend now.
Yeah, see,
see there, we say that we don't know where the conversation's gonna go, and this is an example of that.
But thank you for watching this with me.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you for watching this with me and having me be a part of it. I'm glad this was part of our selection. Yeah. Which leads us to our next selection.
Your pick.
My pick, which we are going to watch the Jeremy Saulnier film, his second feature film, and this is called Blue Ruin, which put Jeremy Saulnier on the map. And I love this film. I'm so excited for you to see it, and we talk about it.
Looking forward to it.
Awesome. Cool. Well, until the next episode, Gretchen, thank you so much, and we'll see you then.
Smash and like and do all the things.
Please pay attention to us on all of our channels, and we'll see you next time.